In the rolling hills of the driftless region, where glaciers never flatten the land, a fourth-generation cheesemaker is redefining what Midwest craft means. I'm Kevin Sharpf, a chef, a restaurant owner, and someone who spent his life chasing great food. But the more I cook, the more I keep coming back to one question. What is Midwest cuisine? We grow some of the best ingredients in the world, right here in the heartland. But the real story is the people behind them, the farmers, the makers, and the craftsmen who turn simple ingredients into something extraordinary. So, I'm hitting the road to explore the Midwest, meeting the people who shape the way we eat and discovering the recipe that defines our region. Chris's family came here from Switzerland in 1906, bringing more than tradition. They brought a way of thinking about milk, land, and time.
So welcome, Kevin. This is our cheese plant. Happy to show you around.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been around here. I'm the fourth generation here. My great-grandfather immigrated in 1906, took a job here, left for a little bit to farm, and then came back around 1920 and we've been here ever since I got my cheesemaker's license in 1989, and I got my master cheesemaker certification in 2015.
Why this area? Like why Shullsburg or just outside? Like even from the immigrant standpoint, like, you know, is there something special about the area that?
Yeah. I think the driftless region here in, you know, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, and northern Illinois, the parts that the glacier didn't flatten. A lot of the immigrants from Europe came to this area because it reminded them of similarities of home. For my family, we were Swiss, and there's a large congregation of Swiss people not far from here in Monroe. You know, they brought their craft and their know-how, and this is the heart of milk production area in the entire world. We produce some of the best and most volumetric amount of milk in the world right in this area. And
that's incredible.
It's all because, you know, the farmers came and the cheesemakers followed. There's a couple different ways to preserve milk. The most economically efficient way to preserve milk is to make cheese out of it. You can dry powder it and you can do things like that, but it's costly and there's a lot of waste in that process. Where in making cheese, we have the infrastructure, we have the know-how, we have the support system, and we're able to very efficiently make cheese in this area.
Every day starts at 4:30 in the morning. One farm, one herd, one milk source. But milk isn't static. It changes with the season, the pasture, the weather, even the life cycle of the cows. The job isn't to control it, it's to gently steer it.
I'll just kind of start with a day in the life of the cheesemaker. So this morning, I took my little milk truck and I went to the farm. Our farm's only about 1.5 miles away from here. We use the milk from one dairy farm every day to make cheese 5 days a week. And so I went to the farm this morning. I got our milk for today and tomorrow. Brought it back here. About 4:30, we started pasteurizing. And that's what this piece of equipment right here is. The most efficient way possible, we'll heat the milk up to 162 degrees, and this S-shaped pipe behind it is the timing tube. So we need to hold that milk at 16 seconds to be considered legal pasteurization. So this machine will heat the milk up, hold it for 16 seconds, and then use the other side of the plate system to cool the milk down to go to the vat at 88 degrees. We pick 88 degrees because for most types of cheese, that temperature will give me the perfect bacterial growing temperature there is. So we like somewhere between 87 and 90 degrees. 88's kind of the ballpark.
So 4:30 this morning, milk.
Yep.
We're pasteurized.
We're pasteurizing. We're into the vat. And today I made an experimental batch of Gorgonzola style of blue cheese. And I've made it before, but this is the first time in this particular recipe, so to speak. So little tweaks with culture and little tweaks with temperatures and little tweaks with mechanical process changes the outcome of the cheese quite a bit. So you have your main cultures that just drive to produce acid, but then you have adjunct cultures that produce flavors. And they might produce flavors 3-4 months down the road. And they change throughout the entire process. So the cheese that we would taste this cheese tomorrow, we would probably think that it's nothing more than milk and salt. But 3 months down the road, you're gonna start seeing the flower bloom. And that's when the flavor, it's a terribly slow food.
Do you know when you've made a mistake, or do you have to wait to find that out?
Sometimes if you make a big one, you'll realize it right away.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it's kind of, you'll find a sweet spot. But the problem is that sweet spot will only be about a month long, and then it just goes over the hill. Those are the little things that'll cause a cheesemaker to lose his hair. But
cheese isn't just manufactured here. It's cultivated from culture to curd, from whey to wheel. The bacteria introduced on day one stays alive until the moment it's eaten. Time isn't an obstacle. Time is the ingredient.
we've got our different equipment here. So this is the equipment that I use for some of our bigger batches, like say when we make our Red Rock Cheddar Blue, which I know you use,
Yep.
and our Dunbarton Cheddar Blue, which I know you use. We'll make them in the larger volumes. That vat there will hold 10,000 pounds of milk. This piece of equipment is specifically for cooking curds and whey. The milk goes in there, we add our ingredients to it, which is just culture and rennet, and could be color in the case of Red Rock. So we use our annatto for coloring.
And it's just got a big whisk on it.
Yeah, it just turns, and you know, it's a slow process. The milk will be in there for about an hour and a half, and then we will have the rennet addition. When we add the rennet, within a half hour's time, that milk turns from liquid to a gel, literally like a loose Jell-O consistency. And then that's what we cut to make the curds.
Okay. The curds hold the richness of the milk, the proteins and butterfat, while the whey carries away the water once drained. The curds are gathered together and handled gently because every movement affects the final cheese. Large slabs are stacked and turned again and again, letting gravity press out moisture while flavor develops. Over time, the curds knit together into a solid mass. But cheese making is more than a recipe. From the moment culture touches milk, the cheese becomes a living thing. Bacteria continue shaping the flavor long after the curds are formed. And once the wheels are made, time takes over. In cool aging rooms, the cheese slowly develops its character, transforming simple milk into something complex, patient, and entirely unique. So where do we go next?
I think what we'll do now is we'll head over and I'll show you our affinage facility where we age the cheese out.
I love it.
Awesome.
But the real transformation is still ahead. After the break, we head into the cellar, where time does the rest. Milk becomes curd in just a few hours, but great cheese takes patience, and that patience lives right here.
All right, Kevin, this is our affinage facility. This is where we age about 80% of the cheese that we make in a year.
Well, first thing I notice is definitely a temperature difference between this facility and where we just came from.
Yeah, so this building is meant to mimic a natural curing cellar. So your root cellar would be earth temp, which is around this region, about 50 degrees year round.
If cheese making begins with milk, it truly comes to life here, inside these curing cellars. Time becomes the final ingredient. The rooms are kept at the same temperature as earth itself, about 50 degrees, creating the quiet conditions cheesemakers have relied on for centuries. Here, wheels of cheese rest, slowly developing the flavor and character that can't be rushed.
What we do here is we allow the cheese open air, no forced air movement, just to sit still and quiet over time to either develop the natural rind that we do on our Red Rock and Dunbarton, or allow our washed rind cheese to grow the bee linen rind that we're looking for on that. This is 3 different environments run by one computer, all glycol and water cooling and manual humidity control. So we're trying to mimic the humidity and temperature of an underground cellar.
As cheese ages, the outside begins to change. First, rinds form slowly, shaped by bacteria, moisture, and careful handling. Some cheeses are washed regularly, encouraging specific cultures to grow. Others develop their rinds naturally over time. Each method leaves its own fingerprint on the flavor inside.
But this cheese will age for almost a year before we'll sell it. So we go from day one in the plant, about a week later after we've been able to cool the center of the cheese down to a specific temperature, we'll bring it over here and start to warm it back up. And these cheeses are washed 3 times a week. With the bacterial wash, it'll give us the bee linens coloring, which is like an orangish red color. And it also gives an odor of
So dirty socks.
Dirty sock is as the cheese ages, you don't get as much of the dirty sock, but early on when the cheese is soft, before it develops that full rind, a lot of that flavor will sink into the cheese and then carry on through the entire life cycle of it.
Cheese doesn't just sit in these rooms. It breathes, absorbs, and slowly transforms over weeks and months. The interaction between air, wood, and bacteria begins, shaping the final flavor.
Now we'll go over to our blue room, our cheddar blue room, which is you're very familiar with.
I have to tell you that I've grown up my whole life not being the biggest fan of blue cheese, really ever, until I've had this. And there's something about this cheese, you get the cheddar in there that I think is easier to absorb, but then the amount of blue cheese vein that's in it is just, it's perfect.
It's all by design. And I'm the guy that's known as the transitional blue cheese maker guy.
Sometimes great cheese comes from tradition, and sometimes it comes from curiosity. By studying old methods and experimenting with new ideas, Chris created cheeses that helped put Roelli Cheese on the national map.
But the impetus specifically for Dunbarton, which was our first real jump into artisan, the impetus was was from the English sell cracked wheels of bandaged cheddar that have blued up around the crack as a delicacy. And I thought to myself, well, I can recreate that flavor purposely. And
so this is a Roelli Cheese creation.
This is my original recipe creation.
That's amazing.
And then Red Rock, which is a different version of the same style of cheese, is also just kind of a natural progression of this style of cheese. We built our brand around the Dunbarton nationally that got us enough recognition to take our products out farther than, the local. We're in pretty much every state. We have some sort of distribution or reach.
Every wheel in this room is at a different point in its journey. Some are just beginning to age. Others have been quietly developing for months, but each one is slowly becoming the cheese it was meant to be.
I can get 15 loaves to a board on a 6-level rack on each side, so we can get quite a bit of cheese on one rack. That's our #1 selling product, generally 2 to 1 over pretty much anything else that I sell.
Wow, the Red Rock.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's our number one volume product. It's an American style cheddar with the blue vein, and it fits in a lot of cheese counters. It's the #1 photographed cheese in the United States. I've been told that cheese is the most photogenic cheese, and it makes a lot of cheese platters as well, so it stands out like a sore thumb. From milk to curd to cellar, every step builds towards one moment, the first taste. So we've got our Red Rock and our Dunbarton, which you are very familiar with at the restaurant, but I also have some of our Little Mountain, which is our Alpine style cheese. And this Red Rock is a couple months old. It's an incredibly complex cheese for the age that's on it. You're tasting it, right out of the cellar. So it's as comfortable as it's ever gonna be is right here in the cellar. It's the best possible place for it. That first smell, the aromas is... Yeah, that natural rind, you've got the earthiness of the natural rind, you've got some salt. There's just a lot of different things going on.
Before I take this bite, what am I thinking? What am I searching for? What do I want to taste?
That should taste like an English farmhouse cheddar. So a cloth-bound, extra hearty, salty, somewhat earthy cheddar with the umami bomb on the backside of it. Definitely dry enough where you got that salt forward.
Yep.
But you're still tasting the ketones of the blue and the really nice balanced cheddar on the backside.
The blue is so subtle.
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough. If you think you hate blue cheese, the store-bought bagged crumble stuff is very, very potent.
It's forward.
And very
definitely
strong.
Forward.
This took everything that people dislike about maybe that and found a way to just put it so gracefully into this cheddar.
There's nothing else like it out there when this cheese is right on. And it changes. It gives me fits sometimes, and I just got to steer it a little bit.
I need to try the #1 selling cheese.
Yep, the Red Rock. Now this is the same style of cheese. It's completely different. It's young, it's mild, it's sweet. Maybe get a little more of the blue with it, but probably not. But you'll definitely get a much more earthy note to it because of the size of the cheese. The rind is much closer to the center of the product at all times.
What's the general age on that? So most people get all fascinated with aged cheddars.
60 days.
60 days.
2022, this made the finalist table on the World Cheese Competition. Top 20 cheeses in the world.
Midwest maker.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome. Last cheese.
Little Mountain. This is my family's roots. This is a traditional washed rind mountain alpine cheese. It's gonna be nutty, sweet.
Sometimes I love a story before you eat something because it gives you a chance to, visualize, and I'm grateful for today and some of the images you've given me on the history and the Swiss Alps, and you eat this cheese, and for me, I'm someone that just likes to take it a step further in my head to enjoy it, and you've really painted an amazing picture. This is fantastic stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin.
Now that I've had a chance to taste these amazing cheeses, after the break, let's get into the kitchen. In kitchens across the Midwest, recipes like this don't come from cookbooks first. They come from memory, from family tables, church basements, and cast iron skillets that have been used for generations. There's nothing that I can think of that represents the Midwest more than probably sweet corn. So when we were thinking about what dish we'd want to do, highlighting this incredible cheese that we learned about today, first thing that came to mind was sweet corn. And one of my favorite dishes is cornbread. So today we're going to work on a sweet cornbread that is moist. It's got a lot of richness, and I think it's going to take on that Roelli Cheese, Red Rock cheddar, just perfect. So what we want to do is we want to caramelize our sweet corn, and we're going to use a ton of butter, because at the beginning of this recipe, this butter, it seems like a lot when we go to caramelize the corn, but this is going to be some of our moisture and some of our fat that's going to fold back into the dry ingredients. So we're going to start with our butter. We're gonna let that melt down. While we're letting this butter melt down, let's talk about sweet corn. It can be preserved sweet corn, it can be fresh sweet corn. What we like to do during the sweet corn season is we bring in tons and tons of sweet corn, and we shuck it, we take it off the cob, and then you can either freeze it, you can vacuum seal it, sometimes we ferment it. So this recipe works really, really well off of frozen sweet corn. So we're gonna take some of our preserved sweet corn from the summer, and we're gonna use that. Really important note, when we're caramelizing sweet corn, we want to make sure that the pan is big enough, so that way when we add the sweet corn, it doesn't kill the heat that we have. Once we get the momentum, we want to keep the momentum going. Cornbread is simple by design. Cornmeal, a few staples from the pantry, and a hot skillet. But like so many dishes in the Midwest, the magic isn't complexity, it's balance. The cheese, the star of the show. Man, I just can't stop thinking about my experience with Chris and the inspiration that he left me with how much he's devoted his life to making cheese and explaining all the generations before him that had done the same thing. It's inspiring, and it's really led me to want to keep challenging myself on what it means to be an artisan, a maker. It's incredible to know that we are making such great product. I'm excited to dive into this cheese. The aromas are incredible, and we're gonna grate this for our cornbread, and let's get going. Just to give you a little insight on what we're looking at, you can see just how that bacteria forms all along the outside. And when Chris described the needles getting punched through, you can see the holes where those needles go in, and then the vein that's left. Pretty neat how we can see something that took such a long time to get to. It's pretty cool. With the cornbread, we can do a couple things. The cornbread can either be small diced, we can grate it, you can do kind of a blend. There's no right or wrong with this. If you do some dices in your cornbread when it cooks, it'll melt. You can kind of break it open and you'll see those really nice kind of fat cheese pockets. If we grate it, it'll kind of blend into that cornbread a little bit more even, and that flavor will kind of be throughout the whole cornbread versus just hitting strong pockets. What I like to do, a little trick, is let's dice a little bit and then let's grate some of it, and then that way we get the best of both worlds. We're looking for about 300 grams of the cheese, but the best part, man, it's kind of neat. Coming from the factory of the cheese and seeing it fresh, and then bringing a product here and really diving into it, you can really just kind of takes you back to all the things that Chris was talking about. Something that's amazing about this cheese is definitely the melting point. Typically, a cheddar cheese has a little bit higher of a melting point. Doesn't like melt right away like our American slices that we're used to. When it does melt, it just gives us that beautiful overlay. So using this cheese inside of the cornbread, it's okay because the cornbread temperature is going to get high enough to where if we've diced it small enough, and then with the grated, man, we're going to get this beautiful, almost not quite stringiness, but it's gonna give us a melt that is just gonna be absolutely delicious inside the cornbread. This whole time, the corn's been working behind me. Remember, we put the butter into the pan and have our sweet corn working, and we wanna see how nice and caramelized it got. All right, while our corn's resting, we're gonna get to the wet ingredients. And actually what we're doing is a continuation of the wet ingredients. What's really neat about this recipe is the corn and all that butter, once we blend that, is what's creating a good chunk of the moisture that then goes into the cornbread. But we're not actually going to add as much liquid as you would think, because we already have all of that butter and the corn that's gonna make up a good chunk of the wet ingredients in our recipe. And the beauty of using the blender for this, we don't need to worry about whisking these eggs or breaking anything up, because all we're gonna do is we're going to go to our corn once it's cool, into the blender, and then we're just gonna add everything up and blend it up. Now that we have all of our ingredients prepped, let's talk making this cornbread. What we're gonna wanna do is start with our dry ingredients. I've already mixed my flour, baking soda, baking powder, sugar, and salt. We're gonna dump that in. Next, we're gonna go to our wet ingredients. What we've done is we've caramelized our butter and our sweet corn, and then we've added heavy cream and some egg, and we just blended it just to where we broke the kernels up. It's got like a really nice texture to it, but we're not blending it into a perfect puree. If we over blend it, it'll create a little bit too much like air, like almost foamy, and we don't want that either, because that'll actually mess with our cornbread batter. If you don't have a blender, you can definitely just put it in whole with the kernels. It's really not that big of a deal. You might want to adjust your milk or your cream just a little bit, but I wouldn't fret over not having a blender to get it to this consistency. Now, this is kind of important. Once we start this whole process, we want to go from the wet ingredients into the dry. We're going to mix it. We'll add our beautiful cheese. And then we're gonna go right into our cast iron pan that's actually been heating up this whole time in the oven. You see all those beautiful chunks of Red Rock cheddar in there. And you can see how the grated pieces kind of have more coverage, but then we have those nice chunks of Red Rock that are gonna give us a great melt pocket inside of our cornbread. Now that we got our cornbread all mixed up, let's grab our hot pan out of the oven and go from there. That hot cast iron does more than cook the batter. It builds the crust, the contrast that makes the cornbread what it is, crisp on the outside and tender in the middle. Cornbread's gonna rise, so we're just gonna go about halfway up. We can see all the bubbles happening there, so we know that it's reacting the way that we want. So we're gonna go into a 375-degree oven and let it ride. Once it hits the oven, the transformation begins. The batter rises, the edges caramelize, and the kitchen starts to smell like the kind of cooking that brings people back to the table. This is absolutely incredible. You can see just beautiful coloration. The fact that this thing's so beautiful, I know it's gonna taste great, but something tells me the beauty of this cheese, we wouldn't be doing it justice if we don't add more. So let's go ahead and just add more cheese on top. And while the cornbread's cooling down, this will get all melty, and just add one more layer of that beautiful Red Rock cheddar. From the creamery to the kitchen, every step adds another layer to the story as we continue our journey to discover, taste, and explore the traditions of the Midwest that we call home.